back out again. Oh, sorry about that. Had a creepy crawly on me. Anyway, look at that. So apologies guys for this week's vlog being just a little bit late, but I wanted to get the official announcement from the Gold Coast Marathon race organisers that this year's Gold Coast Marathon has been cancelled. Really, I guess, no surprise. They didn't really have much of a choice with the COVID-19 and all the restrictions that are put in place at the moment, and still a restriction, of course, on mass gatherings of, well, at the moment we're at 10 people, 20 people in June, and 100 people from July, I think 10, so that's a week after the scheduled date of the marathon. So the only surprise was that maybe they took so long to announce the decision to cancel it, but in the end it's the right decision. We still need to be very careful with this coronavirus. Looks like it's off until next year. Now we just have to sit tight and see if it's the same scenario for Sydney Marathon in September and the Melbourne Marathon in October. So we might get some more clarity as we get a bit closer to those dates with the restrictions that are imposed by the government and health authorities in regards to the coronavirus. So, oh well, we'll just keep plugging away, keep chugging away with what we've been doing, and hopefully things will sort themselves out soon. I did notice today or yesterday that the entries for the Gold Coast 50 in December are now open. Fingers crossed that we might be able to do that event later in the year. So, but as it stands, no Gold Coast Marathon. Now, I was talking to a running buddy a few weeks ago via Messenger. Yes, we were practicing our social distancing during this COVID-19, and we were talking about all things running, and eventually the topic got around to how you negotiate an aging body with your running. Like, I'm 54 in a few weeks' time and he's in his late 40s, and we've both had some injury concerns over the last few years, and that throws up some doubts about whether you're able to get back to the level of running that you were doing pre-injury. And it was after speaking to this buddy that I got to thinking about, well, at what stage in life, as you get older, do you stop chasing your personal bests or your PBs or your personal records, PRs? While my mind is still telling me that, you know, I want to chase down another sub 3-hour marathon and run as fast as I can, I have doubts whether the body is actually keeping up to what my mind is thinking. So I don't know, what do you reckon? You know, hit me up in the comments down below. Are you an older runner that's still chasing personal bests or PRs? Is it just something that you've given up on? I'm sort of thinking that, you know, some of the times that I have run as an adult, I probably won't ever get back to. Like, I look at my 5K, 10K and even half marathon times and think, I just don't believe that I can get back there. My marathon time maybe, but there's just doubts there. As I said, the mind's willing, but I'm just not sure whether the body's able. I know of a lot of older runners in Brisbane, my age and older, that are still running a lot quicker than I am and are still chasing down PBs. This gives you some motivation that maybe you can still do it. I don't know, it's just food for thought. Hit me up in the comments down below. But it reminds me of an article I read, and it was about an Irishman, and this is no joke. Yeah, but about this Irishman named Tommy. His story is quite remarkable. I actually stumbled across this article on podiumrunner.com a couple of weeks ago, and I was just amazed that Tommy Hughes, as a 59-year-old, ran a 2:30 marathon at the 2019 Rotterdam Marathon, and then 6 months later ran a 2:27.52 at the Frankfurt Marathon in October. If you read the story, he has been a high-class runner pretty much all of his life. I think he went to the Olympics in the marathon, but the fact is that he's still running at such a high level at his age is quite remarkable. But what I found most interesting in that article was his training regime. He says in that article during his 20s that he used to just push as hard as he could, and he was doing something like 140-mile weeks. He found that that didn't work for him. What he does now is that most of his runs are done at a modest pace, and I think that is something that we can all learn from, especially runners that are at the older end of the age scale, if you like. We do tend to push a little bit harder than we should, and that's what I mentioned with the MAF. It's made me accountable for those easy days, and here's Tommy. He's saying that he runs most of his runs at a modest pace, and he does no speed work. He uses races as his speed work. And the reason he does that is that he's fearful that the higher intensity will lead to injury. As we get older, we're a little bit more susceptible to injuries. It really makes sense as the older we get that we just need to be mindful of listening to the body, and that's something that I've been really stressing on this channel for quite a while now. Tommy's now turned 60, and I believe he's going to target the over 60s world record. Enough on Tommy. There's certainly some great things in that article that you can take away and adopt in your own running. You know, it's certainly something that I'm going to be mindful of going forward. Easy days easy, which I've been doing with the MAF. And when the racing does come back and parkrun does come back, I'm going to try and do a little bit of what Tommy does. You know, I don't know whether I'll do a 10 mile or something before a race, but might do something like a 10 mile before a 5k park run. It's just something else to experiment with. I'll probably give it a go, and we'll document it as well on the vlog and see what happens. So just a little update on the MAF running this week. Haven't been back to the trails yet. Had a little niggly hip for the past couple of weeks, and it's almost right, so I reckon towards the end of the week I'll head back to the trails. For the past week I've incorporated 3 grass running sessions. Really enjoyed that. Body's appreciated it as well, the legs have appreciated it. So I'm heading to my normal oval for Monday recovery after yesterday's long run, which was 35k. Heart rate was good. So I got to about 27, 28k where I hit some hills, and really it was a bit of a battle for the remainder just to keep that heart rate at my MAF level. But overall the heart rate for the long run was under MAF average, and that's what I work on with the MAF. I work on the average for each run. The only exception to that is if the heart rate really spikes during a run, I'll adjust and get it under control. But 99% of the runs I'm looking for the average heart rate to be under that MAF level, and all the runs in the past week have been the same, so it's been really good. The only exception was last Friday, where just upped the pace a little bit, and I'll show you what happened there. Another glorious morning on the Bayside. Just finished a well, it was supposed to be 5k at 4:30s, and then a cut down 5 seconds every k after that for 10k, but it didn't work out that way. Just couldn't get the pacing right from the start. It was well under those 4:30s from the start, so just basically made it a tempo, and then 3k roundabout marathon pace a bit under, and then the last 2k just used that as a cut down. So now the reason for the quicker session today was because just want to keep a little bit of speed in the legs. I don't want that speed block that I did during April to go to waste, so every now and then I'll throw in some higher intensity stuff just to keep the legs turning over at a little bit quicker pace. It's on the MAF. Be interesting to see what the heart rate is on that one, because I felt like I was working pretty hard in those last couple of Ks. We'll check it out when I get home, and I'll leave it down in the descriptions down below so you can see what the average heart rate was for each K. Now, in last week's vlog I answered a question from one of the viewers, and I thought I might continue to do that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, or I'm also on Twitter if you want to leave a question there. The Twitter address is down in the descriptions. If you've got a question about anything running related or anything to do with the Maffetone method that I've been using for the past 6 months, Hit me up with a question and I'll pick one or two out each week to answer and discuss. Anyway, this week's question was from Carl, and he wanted to know a little bit more about the marathon long run that I did as part of the 42.2 kilometre in 42 hours challenge a couple of weeks ago. So Carl wanted to know if I pushed myself harder in that run. Well, not really, Carl. I just naturally let the pace increase to around about that 4:30 per kilometre pace. I didn't pay too much attention to the heart rate. I did push up towards the end. That's understandable towards the end of a long run where you start to get a little bit tired. And that's why I felt happy with that run, because it did feel pretty comfortable and the heart rate was still at a pretty good level. Okay guys, that's about a wrap for another week. Just about ready to head off for a run. Just before I go, I just want to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. It wasn't that long ago that I put a call out that we were approaching a milestone of 200 subscribers. Well, we've now well and truly surpassed 300 subscribers, so welcome everyone. Hope you're getting something out of the channel and helping you with your running journeys. If you made it all the way through to the end of the video, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you give it a little bit of love by hitting that thumbs up icon down below. So that's about it guys, so until next week, hooroo.